We're diving into Marvel Rivals with 10 game-changing tips that will take your gameplay from street level to cosmic threat. And trust me, these aren't your basic right shoulder peek tips. We're talking advanced strategies that help me break into high elo. It's what separates the Avengers from the average players. This is going to help you stay alive so much longer. Let's jump into tip number 1 here. I have team composition and mastery. Forget everything you think you know about 2-2-2 compositions. The meta is evolving faster than Stark's suit upgrades. And if you're still stuck in the 2-2-2 mindset, you're basically running Windows 95 in 2025. Did you know 3-3 comps are more than viable right now? Meaning 3 Vanguards and 3 Strategists. This is something that was tested in Season 0 by high-level players, and we don't have as much data on this comp as we do more popular ones like 2-2-2 or Triple Duelist or Triple Strategist. But this comp can absolutely dismantle other teams in certain scenarios, and the keywords there being certain scenarios. If you're getting rolled by another team and you know it's basically a guaranteed loss, feel free to give this composition a shot if your team is up for trying it. And I know what you're thinking, but where's the damage? Trust me, the sustain is the damage. When you can't kill anything, you can't win fights. It's simple Marvel math. But here's where it gets interesting. Certain DBS heroes can completely dismantle this setup. Iron Man, for example, can absolutely shred 3-3 comps with consistent backline pressure. Why? Because sustained damage eventually overwhelms even the beefiest healing. It's like water eroding a rock, except the rock is crying for healing and the water is repulsor blasts. The key thing isn't just picking these counter heroes, it's understanding why they work. You're not just dealing damage, you're forcing impossible decisions. When you pressure supports, they have to choose between keeping themselves alive or keeping their tanks up. It's like asking Thor to choose between his hammer and his hair conditioner. Something's gotta give. But don't get locked into thinking 3-3 is the only way, 2-2-2 is the only way. Some of the most effective comps I've seen include single tank dive setups that punch through defenses faster than Hulk through a paper wall, double support with 4 DPS, turning your team into a delete button with health insurance, mobile heavy compositions that create more chaos than Loki at a family reunion. Here's the real secret sauce though, the best composition isn't always the most meta one, it's the one your team can actually execute, and this is one of the key pieces of this entire point. A perfectly played aggressive comp will beat a poorly played 3-3 every time, or 2-2-2. It's like having 6 Infinity Stones but not knowing how to snap. All that power means nothing without execution. And remember, adaptability is key. If you're running 3-3, for example, and it's not working, don't be afraid to switch it up. The best teams in Marvel Rivals aren't the ones who perfect one composition, like 3 Strategists, for example. They're the ones who master multiple styles and can adapt on the fly. So the secret would be build compositions that create problems your enemies can't solve. Really think about this. If they can't deal with mobility, go mobile. If they break through sustain, stack it up. If they can't handle pressure, bring the thunder. It's about forcing them to play your game, not the other way around. Tip number 2 would be resource economy. Marvel Rivals isn't just a shooter, it's basically cosmic chess with cooler special effects. Every cooldown is a resource, and managing them is more important than your aim. In fact, I'd argue that cooldown management wins more fights than perfect accuracy ever will. I have hundreds of hours in aim trainers, and I firmly believe this. Think about it this way, when Hela uses her soul drainer to stun enemies, that's a 12-second window of opportunity. When Black Panther burns his mobility, that's 8 seconds where he's more vulnerable than Spider-Man without his web shooters. These aren't just numbers, they're opportunities that separate the rookies from the veterans. Let's break down what you should be tracking, because this is where most players fall short. First, you've got your basic abilities, your bread and butter moves, but don't just spam them like Deadpool spams fourth wall breaks. Each ability needs to have a purpose, a reason for existing in that moment. Keep mental notes of these key cooldowns when you can. Movement abilities, they're your get out of jail free cards. Crowd control, time these wrong and you might as well be throwing confetti. Defensive cooldowns, track these like Fury tracks his agents. In game-changing ultimates, these need their own mental spreadsheet. Here's what separates good resource management from great resource management. Anticipation. Don't wait to see the enemy magic use her teleport. Count the seconds since she last used it. Know when it's coming back up. Again, it depends on the situation. You're not going to be able to do this every time, but play like you can see the future, because with good cooldown tracking, you basically can. And let's talk about ability combos. Using your abilities in the right order isn't just showing off, It's the difference between tickling the enemy team and sending them back to respawn. A Vanguard who burns their escape option before the defensive cooldown is just asking to get focused down faster than Thanos can snap. The really spicy part? Resource management isn't just about your abilities, it's about forcing the enemy to waste theirs. Bait out those key cooldowns. Make them panic. A strategist who burns their escape because they thought you were coming to the dive? That's not just an opportunity, that's a dinner bell for your duelists. The player who tracks resources wins fights. The player who doesn't ends up like Ultron. Lot of big talk, no backup plan. Remember, every ability has a cost, and I'm not talking about energy or mana. I'm talking about opportunity cost. Using an ability means you don't have it for the next 8, 10, 15 seconds. Make those seconds count because your enemies certainly will. Hello, beautiful people. I'm Prophet. If you're enjoying this video more than Tony Stark enjoys talking about himself, consider subscribing. I make weekly Marvel Rivals videos, including guides, rank data, how to improve series, and more. I promise I'm not as needy as Star-Lord trying to impress Gamora, but close. Tip number 3, advanced positioning. Positioning in Marvel Rivals is like real estate. It's all about location, 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 and not getting caught in Doctor Strange's dimension-bending nonsense. And let me tell you, bad positioning will get you killed faster than making fun of Hulk's purple pants. The right side of any cover is your best friend. Why? Because a third-person camera lets you peek while keeping most of your body hidden. The reason I'm laughing here is because literally at the beginning of the video, we said we weren't going to talk about shoulder peeking here, but it's basic geometry. It wins games. Think about it. When you're on the correct side of cover, you're exposing about 30% of your hitbox, but you peek from the opposite side. So you peek from the left, you might as well be cosplaying as a billboard. But let's get deeper than that because proper positioning is more complex than Thanos' family tree. As a duelist, you want to be close enough to threaten the enemy strategist, but not so close that their vanguards can collapse on you. It's a dance and you need to know all the steps. Here are 3 rules that'll keep you alive longer than a Marvel character's death. Always have an escape route, and I mean always. If you can't answer, how do I get out? In under a second, you're already dead. Control high ground whenever possible. Stay within range of your strategist, but out of range of their threats. Your strategist can't heal through walls no matter how much they wish they could, unless like it's a fancy rocket player. You want to get, again, fancy schmancy with this. Let's talk about map specific positioning because this is where most players throw harder than Loki throws loyalty. Every map has power positions, spots that give you control over key sightlines. But here's the catch. A power position is only powerful if you can actually hold it. Don't be that duelist who takes high ground but can't defend it from flanks. And speaking of flanks, let's address the Rocket Raccoon in the room, shall we? Just because you can flank doesn't mean you should. I see too many players taking these wide flanking routes, spending half the match walking around like they're sightseeing in New York. Meanwhile, their team is fighting 5v6 and wondering why their duelist is sending postcards from the other side of the map. Position relative to your team composition. Be complementary. If you're running a dive comp, stay within dive range. If you're playing poke, maintain poke distance. If you're defending, create crossfire angles that force impossible decisions. Again, it's like chess, except all the pieces have superpowers and occasionally yell catchphrases. Remember, good positioning makes average aim look amazing. Bad positioning makes amazing aim look silver ranked. You could have the accuracy of Hawkeye on his best day, but if you're standing in the wrong spot, you might as well be shooting Nerf darts. And one final note, positioning isn't static, it's dynamic, constantly shifting based on ultimate economy, team compositions, and objective status. The position that won you the last fight might get you killed in the next one. Stay fluid, stay aware, and for the love of Stan Lee, stay behind cover. Tip number 4, ultimate economy. Ultimate management is like handling infinity stones. Use them wrong and half your chances of winning disappear. Here's what separates good ultimate usage from throwing them away: timing and value. Your ultimate isn't just a fancy ability with a cool animation. It's a game-changing resource that can flip fights faster than Doctor Strange flips through spell books. Let's break down the ultimate economy into 3 key components. Tracking, knowing who has what and when. Combination potential, understanding which ultimates kind of work together. Win condition assessment, knowing if your ultimate will actually secure value. First, tracking. Every time you see an enemy ultimate, you should be doing sort of a mental count. Most ultimates take somewhere between 1 to 3 team fights to charge. That means if Black Panther uses his ultimate now, you've got roughly 2 fights before it's back. It's basic math, but it wins games. Here's what separates good ultimate usage from great ultimate usage. Track enemy offensive plays to predict ultimate charge. Count kill participation. More participation means faster ult charge. Know which ultimates combo together like Thor and Coffee, they're just better together, and understand which ultimates counter others. But here's where most players mess up. They treat ultimates like their birthday presents that need to be opened immediately. Your ultimate is a tool, not a toy. Using it just because you have it is like using a credit card just because it has a limit. Technically possible, but probably not smart. The golden rule of ultimate economy: don't use your ultimate just because you have it. Use it because it will win you the fight, help prevent a loss, and please, for the love of Stan Lee, again, coordinate with your team. A solo ultimate is about as effective as trying to eat a pound of mud. Let's talk about ultimate combos, because this is where games can be won and lost, and it depends. Sometimes ultimate combos are not worth doing, but for example, a magic ultimate combined with a storm ultimate, both of them can complement each other. One might not be enough to knock out that strategist in the back, but both of them combined, that's not just damage, that's a team wipe waiting to happen. But timing is everything. Launch them in the wrong order and you might as well be throwing sparklers at Captain America. And here's an advanced tip most players miss: sometimes the threat of your ultimate is more value than the ultimate itself. Just having it available forces the enemy team to play differently. They have to respect the possibility, which means you're controlling space without spending resources. It's like having an infinity stone in your pocket. You don't need to use it to get value from it. Remember, ultimate economy isn't just about management, it's about momentum. Use them right and you're orchestrating a symphony of destruction. Use them wrong and you're just making expensive noise. Tip number 5, target priority. Here's a rough target priority list. Number 1, strategists who are keeping their team immortal. Strategists are so incredibly strong in this game, I don't think we need to expand on this point too much, but we will in a minute. Duelists who are out of position. Vanguards who are actually threatening your backline. And then number 4 would be that one player who keeps spamming the chat. I'm kidding, but only kinda. Let's break this down because there's more to it than just shooting at whatever's closest. Whenever you see an enemy team, you need to be thinking, again, like a chess player, not a button masher. Every target has an assigned value, and understanding that value is what separates, again, the Avengers from the average players. Generally, the hierarchy is something like this: strategist first. Why? Because a strategist left alive is like giving the enemy team a permanent health subscription. They're turning your damage into suggestions, and that's not how we win games. But here's the catch: don't tunnel vision so hard on their strategist that you ignore everything else. That's how you end up getting punished faster than Loki after a failed invasion. Now, about those duelists, they're your second priority. Again, generally speaking, these can flex up or down, but it's with a caveat for duelists in particular. An out of position duelist is like gift wrap elimination credit, but a well-positioned duelist behind their Vanguard line, maybe not the best target at that moment. It's all about opportunity costs. And now let's talk about the Vanguards real quick, because this is where most players waste their time. I've seen this in Diamond and even higher ranks. Yes, that Hulk is big and scary and right in your face. No, that doesn't mean you should empty your entire clip into him while strategists are turning him into an immortal rage machine. Unless that Vanguard is actively threatening your team's survival or they're about to die, they're basically just a very large distraction. Here's some advanced target priority tech. Track heat cooldowns. Again, track heat cooldowns. A strategist without their escape ability is basically wearing a "please eliminate me" sign. Communicate focus targets. One player shooting the right target is nice. Next player shooting the right target is a team wipe waiting to happen. Understand threat levels. Sometimes the biggest threat isn't the most obvious one. We keep bringing this up, but think about it like a chess game. You don't win by taking all the pawns while the queen runs free. Take out the high value targets first, and suddenly that intimidating Vanguard line becomes as threatening as Ant-Man without his suit. And remember, target priority isn't static. It changes based on ultimate availability, team composition, map position, current objective state. The team that masters target priority is the team that wins fights. Everything else, aim, movement, ability usage, that is usually secondary if you're shooting at the wrong targets. You could have the best aim, but if you're focusing on the wrong target, you might as well be throwing paper airplanes. Tip number 6 would be counterpick psychology. Counterpicking isn't just about hero selection, it's about understanding why certain heroes counter others. And no, picking Iron Man just because you saw it in a tier list isn't the big brain play you think it is. Let's get into the meat of counterpicking, because this is deeper than the quantum realm. Iron Man doesn't just counter Vanguard heavy comps because of raw damage, he creates space control problems that force impossible decisions. Magic doesn't just dive or potentially counter dive comps, she fundamentally denies the entire game plan of certain comps. It's about understanding the why behind the counter. Here's what you need to master for effective counterpicking. Know your matchups like Nick Fury knows his secrets. Understand team synergies better than Guardian Guardians understand each other. Read enemy team composition, adapt your play style to maximize your counter potential. Let's break down some specific examples because theory is nice, but practice wins games. When the enemy teams runs triple Vanguard, just again as an example, they're not just betting on sustain, they're betting on controlling space. So what's the counter in this particular example? Heroes that can either bypass that control or make it irrelevant. Storm can create zones that force repositioning. Magic can teleport past their front line. Iron Man can pressure from angles to make their formation uncomfortable. But here's where most players mess up. They counterpick without understanding how to play the counter. It's like giving Thor's hammer to someone who can't lift it. It doesn't matter how powerful the tool is if you can't use it. Advanced counterpicking isn't just about your hero choice. It's about your whole team's composition. Think about how your hero choice affects team dynamics, what gaps in your team composition need filling, which enemy threats need to be answered, how your pick enables your team's win condition. And here's the spicy tech that most players miss. Sometimes the best counter isn't a direct counter. Sometimes it's about picking something that changes how the team has to play. Force them out of their comfort zone. Make them play your game, not theirs. Remember, counter picking is a tool, not a guarantee. The best counter pick in the world won't save you if you can't execute on it. Better to play something that you're comfortable with than force a counter you can't pilot. Tip number 7 would be map control. Map control isn't just about understanding and standing on the objective like it's your personal dance floor. It's about controlling the space that leads to the objective. Let's break this down into chunks bigger than Hulk's anger management issues. First, you need to understand that every map has 3 types of critical areas. Power positions that give you advantageous angles, resource zones where the health packs and strategic cover exists, and choke points that funnel enemy movement. Here's where most players mess up. Key areas you absolutely must control. Major health pack locations. Deny these and you starve the enemy of resources faster than Galactus on a diet. Sight lines to objectives. If you can't see it, you can't defend it. Common flank routes, because nobody likes a surprise party from enemy duelists. Crossfire positions, setting up those sweet angles to make enemy positioning impossible. Think of the map like a web. Spider-Man would be proud. Control the key intersections and you control the flow of the game. Let the enemy have them and suddenly you're playing on their terms faster than Doctor Strange can say multiverse. But here's the advanced tech that separates the pros from the button mashers. Map control is dynamic. It shifts based on objective location, team composition, ultimate economy, spawn waves. Let's talk about zone control because this is where games can be won and lost. Creating dead zones, areas where the enemy team simply cannot exist without getting punished, is crucial. Your duelist should be threatening key spaces, your vanguard should be denying entry points, and your strategist should be enabling both from safe positions. Advanced map control strategies include setting up crossfire angles that force impossible decisions, creating buffer zones around objectives, maintaining spawn pressure without overextending, establishing rotation paths that keep you unpredictable. Sometimes giving up space intentionally is the play. Again, chess. Sometimes you sacrifice a pawn to take the queen, baiting the enemy team into overextending by giving up seemingly advantageous positions. That's how you can set up team wipes. And remember, map control isn't just about where you are, it's about where you're denying the enemy from being. A well-controlled map makes the enemy team feel like they're playing in a box while your team has the whole playground. The team that masters map control doesn't just win fights, they win fights before they even start. Because when you control the map, you control the game's narrative. And in Marvel Rivals, the narrative should always be the enemy team regrets their life choices. Tip number 8, sound mastery. Let's get into the audio engineering of victory because this is deeper than the bass in Black Panther's movie music. Every ultimate has a distinct audio cue. Every footstep tells a story. Here's what you need to be listening for. Ultimate activation sounds, each one is distinct and tells you exactly what's coming. Footstep patterns, different heroes have different movement sounds. Certain ability sounds, knowing these can literally save your life. Directional combat audio, that Rocket Raccoon might be trying to flank you. Let's break down why this matters. When you hear Storm's ultimate activation, you've got about a half second to make a decision. That's not enough time to think, you need to react on instinct. But here's the thing, if you know the sound, you know exactly what's coming and where to move. Advanced audio techniques include tracking multiple audio layers simultaneously, using sound clues to predict enemy rotations, identifying priority threats through audio alone. Here's where most players mess up. They rely too heavily on visual information. We've all seen that Punisher just sitting on the turret. I'm not going to talk more about that. But in the chaos of a team fight, when there's more visual noise than a Times Square billboard, your ears become your most reliable sensor. Your eyes might miss that flanking duelist, but your ears won't miss their footsteps. So here's something we can cover real quick would be sound mixing settings. Yeah, I'm about to get technical. Make sure effect volume, you can hear it clear and prominent, and ambient noise is nice, but try to listen beyond that. Your ears can save you from things your eyes haven't spotted yet. It's like having spider sense, except instead of a tingle, you get actual actionable information. When you hear that hella ultimate activation, you should be moving before your brain even processes why. Remember, in Marvel Rivals, sound isn't just ambiance, it's intelligence. And in this game, intelligence wins fights before they even start. So put on those headphones, crank up those sound effects, and start playing with all your senses, because the player who masters sound mastery isn't just playing the game, they're playing in 4D, baby. Also, if you do not have 3D enhancement on, I would highly encourage you to consider flicking this on. What it does is essentially enable spatial audio enhancement, which is it improves sound directionality and pinpoint sources. So where is that Psylocke coming from precisely? That's what this bad boy's for. And turn this one off. This is just a quality of life improvement here. That way when you alt tab, you can go ahead and listen to your YouTube tunes instead of the background music of this game. This was a game changer for me. And here is probably the most important piece. I mean, overall master sound effects volume, like these are very important, of course, but I would go into combat mix. Did you know that this was here? I have my mix presets set to default, but I would try all of these just to see how it works for you. I would imagine, like, if you're a little bit more competitive leaning, you would probably choose between default and focus. I did not like immersion at all personally, but that's just due to I have a very specific like headphone setup and everything. So do which one works for you. I would try all of them though, but mine's set on default. I think all of these are important sound cues to know, like hit indicator, overall healing sound volume, and then, you know, more specifics underneath. But damage volume, I want to know all of these different sounds that are happening, and you can adjust these accordingly. A lot of these I have set to default, but however, did you know that you can have a KO sound cue? You can announce when a teammate is KO'd. Turn this on, and if you hate it, you can turn it off, but turn this on. I don't know how many times I've seen a Luna just alt nothing, no teammates, no one, and it's more or less a wasted alt, or a Doctor Strange doing whatever that's dumb because he can't see behind him and he doesn't know his entire team has been KO'd, things like this. He doesn't know that he should pull back, that sort of deal. This is going to help you stay alive so much longer and let you know, oh, okay, we're actually down 2 strategists right now. So check out the combat mix. Tip number 9, spawn advantage. Let's break down spawn advantage like we're explaining quantum physics to Drax. When to push. Right after your team spawn wave hits. When you have numbers advantage and spawn advantage. When you can catch enemies in spawn rotation before enemy reinforcements arrive. When to fall back. When enemy spawn waves are incoming. If you're caught between spawn waves. When your team spawn is desynchronized, or before you get caught in a spawn sandwich. When to stall, to sync up with your team's spawn wave, to drain enemy ultimate economy, to prevent enemy spawn momentum, to maintain map control until reinforcements. Here's a tech most players miss about spawn advantage. Spawn waves aren't just about numbers, they're about momentum. Position before the wave hits is crucial. Spawn advantage can force ultimate usage. This is huge. You can manipulate enemy spawn timing, plan rotations around waves, position control, set up crossfire angles before waves hit, control key choke points during wave advantage, maintain sightlines on spawn routes, resource management, save key abilities for wave fights, manage ultimate economy around waves, preserve resources for wave momentum. Remember, the team that masters spawn advantage doesn't just win fights, they control when and where the fights happen. It's like being the director of your own Marvel movie, except instead of CGI, it's real. Tip number 10, mental game mastery. Your mental game should be stronger than vibranium, not weaker than paper mache. Because let's be honest, tilting harder than a pinball machine isn't going to win you any games. Let's break down mental mastery into digestible chunks. Reading the game. Analyze enemy patterns, like Doctor Strange studies spells. Analyze enemy patterns. Track what's working and what isn't for both teams. Adapt strategies faster than Mystique changes forms. Stay focused like Wong guarding the Sanctum. Key mental checks. Enemy analysis. What compositions are they running? Which players are carrying? What strategies are they favoring? You can counter this. Team assessment. Where are our weak points? What advantages aren't we using? How's our ultimate economy? Strategic adaptation. What counters do we need right now? How can we change our approach? What resources are we wasting? Here's the advanced mental game tech that separates champions from challengers. Stay solution focused, not problem focused. Communicate constructively, not critically. Never be critical. Never, 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 never. Adapt strategies proactively, not reactively. Maintain composure like Captain America in a press conference. Pro mental game tips. Take breaks between losses. Focus on improvement, not just winning. This is a tough one. Learn from defeats like their victory's teaching assistant. Keep communication clear and constructive. Remember, tilting is indeed a choice. And like choosing to fight Hulk in a cramped elevator, it's usually the wrong one. Stay focused, stay adaptable, and stay positive, because in Marvel Rivals, the strongest muscle you need to train is the one between your ears. There you have it, 10 game-changing tips that will take your gameplay to the next level, to the next ranks. If you found this guide helpful, smash that subscribe button harder than Hulk smashes, well, everything. And if you want a list of the best heroes to climb bronze through platinum with, watch this data pack video right here. And until next time.